I've been waiting 2 hours for the noise outside to stop, but it's not going to anytime soon, I don't think. So yeah, let's just crack on. I'm here today to talk about how much I really enjoyed the book Domina. Now, I have seen a fair few reviews going either way for this book. Now, if you're not aware, Domina is the follow-on from the book Maestra, which was released last year, and I uploaded a video about Maestra last year, which, if I remember, I will link in the description bar. And I'm sure you'll have seen me haul this a couple of videos back as well. So without giving any spoilers away, the general synopsis of this book is the follow-on, as I've said, of Maestra. And Maestra is about a girl called Judith, who is just a normal girl, has grown up in a normal household in the north of England, but has moved to London, and she's really interested in art, and she works in an art house. This is in the first book, not this one. And she discovers some dodgy dealings that her boss is involved into, and ends up running around Europe, creating all sorts of havoc and exposing an underworld in the art world in Europe. And she meets a lot of interesting characters along the way, and it's sort of a look into the uber rich lifestyles that you find over on the continent and in the UK, I assume too. I mean, I'm just not rich myself, so I don't know about it. But Domina is the follow-on from Maestra. And so I don't want to give too much away about what actually happens in Domina, because if you haven't read Maestra, it's going to spoil Maestra for you. So I'm just going to get into why I actually love this book so much, and I'm going to put it down so I'm not just holding it like this for the whole time. So as I said, I have looked at a lot of reviews of this book after I finished it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I really enjoyed it. So a lot of the negatives that I've seen about this book tend to sort of centre around people saying that they're not really interested in the art world, and they also found the sex in it to be a bit gratuitous. Now, one of the things that I will agree with is that I don't particularly like the sex scenes in this. I think that they are a little bit extreme, and that might make me sound a little bit of a prude, but I have read a lot of books with sex scenes in it. In fact, I've seen some reviews comparing this to 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I will put it out there that this is absolutely nothing like 50 Shades of Grey. If you've watched this channel for a while, you'll know my thoughts on that book. I really hated it. I thought the writing was bad. I thought the story was terrible. But Domina, yes, it has some very sort of extreme sex scenes in it. But really they're few and far between in Domina, and I don't really feel like it detracts from the story overall. The reason I really love Domina is that it captured my imagination in a way that I've only really had with certain movies before. Domina is so different to a lot of books that I've read, with the theme being obviously a girl who is living in a world of art, of scandal, and there's quite a lot of murder goes on in this book, and some of it, yeah, it might be a little bit unbelievable. The murders especially, you might find them a tad much, and but I feel like it goes along with the overall theme of the book. So you do have some very gratuitous sex scenes, which I've mentioned, they're not my cup of tea, but I don't feel like they take away from the story at all. The murder in it is unusual. A lot of it's got a sexual element to the murder, which is another sort of layer that I wasn't quite certain on, but also just added a little bit of something different, something that I've not read before. And so for me, the character in this book is slightly a Black Widow style character, in the fact that just because she sleeps with you doesn't mean that she won't kill you in the next scene. And I enjoyed the unpredictability of that, and I enjoyed the interest in the psychosis behind Judith, the lead character in the book. Now, as I've said, I've seen it compared to 50 Shades of Grey, and I'm going to tell you now that, in my opinion, there's no comparison apart from the money element. Obviously, in 50 Shades of Grey, you've got a girl who goes from sort of rags to riches, and the same thing happens with Judith in Maestra. And that is basically, for me, the only comparison. And yes, I know that 50 Shades of Grey has got a lot of extreme sex scenes, which Maestra and Domina do as well. However, I feel like with 50 Shades of Grey, the sex scenes are generally the point of the book, and it's peppered with very sort of limited narrative throughout. And in 50 Shades of Grey, really, I found the stories to be not very engaging, and the characters to be very two-dimensional. Whereas in Domina, the sex scenes are few and far between, and they are not peppered with useless narrative to keep the book going. In fact, I find the narrative in Domina very clever. I find that it's a book that you really can't flick read or skim read. You've really got to immerse yourself and really concentrate. There is a lot of back history into the art world, which has put a few people off, but Again, for me, I'm not really interested in classic art. I've never really studied the arts, but I still found Domina extremely compelling to read. So just to reiterate, I don't think that it is comparable at all to 50 Shades of Grey. But again, I can't think of a book to compare Domina to except for Maestra. So if you haven't read either of those, I don't have any book recommendations that remind me of either of these books. So I'll just go with a little bit of film recommendation that sort of, if you like this sort of film, you might enjoy this sort of book. So the first movie that reminds me a little bit of Domina is the Bourne films. And I say that because obviously the Bourne films are an action type movie. Domina is filled with fast-paced action at times, and it's also set in the beautiful European backdrop, and I found that the descriptions within Domina really sort of put you in that sort of mindset. You can really picture the cobbled streets, the beautiful buildings, and the sort of the European lifestyle, which is one of the things I quite liked in the Bourne Identity. I really liked it when he was running through the streets of Europe doing all sorts of things, trying to escape, and that's similar to the feel that you get with Domina. Obviously they're not the same storyline, it's the general feel of it that I'm talking about. The second film that kind of reminds me of Domina is Wanted. Wanted is quite an interesting film if you've not seen it. It's James McAvoy and it's Angelina Jolie. And the character that Angelina Jolie plays in Wanted, she's called Fox, and she's Angelina Jolie, so she's very attractive, but in Wanted she's a person not to be messed with, and that is how I feel about Judith. I feel like I picture her as the Angelina Jolie style in Wanted, sort of very alluring but also extremely deadly, and that's one of the reasons I really liked her. And with the money element, if you've ever watched sort of reality TV shows such as The Real Housewives of X, Y and Z, the frivolity of the money and the lifestyles of the rich and the famous, the exclusive flights, boats, eating in the best restaurants, the best food, Judith has come into money in Maestra, and she carries that theme on a bit in Domina, and so with that you get a little glimpse into a lifestyle of the elite, if you will. And again, that is something else I found. It's a little bit frivolous, but it's also something that I enjoyed. It's escapism, and I loved it. So that is some of the reasons why I really enjoyed Domina, and if you are interested in that sort of theme, perhaps give Domina and Maestra a go. I know a couple of people last year said that they had picked up Maestra on my recommendation, and I would like to know if you were one of them. Let me know what you thought of that. If you hated Maestra, feel free, leave it below and let me know. I'd like to see what you thought of it. And similarly, if you have read Domina and you hate it or you loved it, let me know, because it seems to be a book that divides opinion, but my opinion is an absolute resounding yes. So yeah, that's all I've got for you today. It is just a quick little book review of Domina, and without leaving any spoilers, obviously, because I'm all about spoiler free on this channel. So I'll see you all in my next video, and don't forget to press the thumbs up button to like this video if you did indeed like it, and subscribe if you feel inclined, and I will see you all next time. Bye!